Hey, you!
Ah! What?
Are you tired of boring old shirts?
My mom got me this shirt.
Do you want a shirt that screams personality?
I mean, I already
Well, try
have
Geek
the shirt.
Tropical!
Oh my god, how did you do that? Where is my old shirt?
With Geek Tropical's hundreds of nerdy designs, you'll find one that perfectly represents you and your interests.
Well, I mean, it is pretty comfy.
And you look great.
Oh, thanks. Now, who are you?
I don't know. What I do know is that Geek Tropical is your new #1 provider for nerdy and geeky shirts, dresses, and apparel. With so many designs for so many nerdy subjects, you'll definitely find something that fits you. Geek Tropical proudly promotes all of their artists responsible for their unique designs. With a firm no AI art policy, you know that every shirt you buy was designed by and credited to a real artist who receives royalties on every purchase of their designs. So whether you're looking for a new dragon scale dress or a dino nuggy hat, Geek Tropical is your one-stop shop for nerdy designs that you can show off on your body. And with the holiday season coming up, you can get nerdy designs for your friends to show off on their bodies, so be sure to order fast so you can get it in time for the gift-giving season. Thank you so much, Geek Tropical, for sponsoring the channel.
Lords, ladies, nobles of all sorts, welcome to the monthly table of the monarch. Please voice your concerns now.
My lord, what are you doing with all our tax money?
Oh yes, your taxes, yes, they're being very well spent on a 4th bronze statue of myself, yes, thank you.
Well, your grace, typically, the money of the people will be spent improving the lives of the people.
Oh, you're worried about what I do for the people? Yes, of course you are. Well, I am very proud to tell you your monarch has eradicated doom itself from my 5 chosen knights. You're welcome, please applaud.
You suck.
Tell me, has your TTRPG character ever dreamed of grandeur, owning and ruling their own kingdom with or without an iron fist? Well, what if I told you that in War of Immortals, Pathfinder 2e has recently added an archetype that allows you to do exactly that, reflected in the game's mechanics. And you might already be thinking to yourself, we can't use that. That's Mythic rules. Ah, you're half right. A lot of people may have missed this small bit of text in War of Immortals, but all of the level 12 Mythic Destiny archetypes can actually be used by normal player characters, obviously with GM permission, and they don't break the balance of the game. There are different Mythic portions of some of their abilities, however, if you are not playing with Mythic rules, these archetypes are actually still completely playable on the average Pathfinder character. And today we are talking about one of the most unique options among them, the Prophesied Monarch. This is a fascinating archetype that utilizes your connection with your allies, but by making your allies into your willing servant knights to protect you, and in turn, you actually get to protect and empower them. It's super cool, so let's dive right into it, but not before I thank the sponsor of today's video. It's me, I'm sponsoring my video. Again. If you are watching this the day it came out, then I am currently live on Twitch right now, and I have been for the last 4 days straight, thanks to the No Nat November Subathon. Last Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we started the stream, and it has not stopped since then. As long as people keep donating, the Subathon keeps going. We have been playing games, and in fact, we are recording this video live right now. That's what this is. These are viewers in chat who got lucky. No, I will not elaborate further. If you'd like to come contribute to the subathon or just hang out and enjoy yourself with us, it's been some great conversation with some amazing people. Click the link at the top of the description to head on over to NoNat November. It has been amazing, and I can't wait to see how long this is going to keep going. As it stands, with no further donations, this stream is lasting until at least Wednesday. So who knows? Maybe it'll end on Wednesday, maybe it'll last all of November. There's no way to know, but it'll be awesome if you're there for it. Thanks so much. And also thanks so much to the members of the No Nat One's Patreon. Without y'all, there is no channel. I can't do what I do without your continued support. Shout out to all of y'all, and shout out to the members of the highest tier who get a one-shot GM'd by me. For them, I'm super looking forward to the 2 one-shots that are to come. There are still 2 slots open as well if you are interested in snagging that for you, and up to 4 friends. Thank you to all my patrons. Let's talk Monarchies. Starting off with the dedication, it's already fascinating. As the prophesied monarch, you get to select up to 5 allies who become your loyal knights. And even though it sounds like they should be doing things for you, this is actually a buff for them. Anybody deemed your loyal knight cannot have a doomed condition that increases beyond doomed 3, which is very important because any player character who ever reaches doomed 4 immediately dies. Just by giving your allies the title of knight, they are immune to death by doomed. Now, this doesn't stop the doomed condition from reducing their dying threshold, so they're not completely immune to the effects, but they can't be killed strictly by doomed, and you gain a completely unique action. If one of your knights currently has the doomed condition, you can spend 10 minutes with them to explain to them the grandeur and possibilities of your monarchy, your kingdom, which, by the way, doesn't have to be a classic knights and castles. The book itself even says that, like, a gunslinger monarch can have a rootin' tootin' corral of knights that mechanically works the same, but thematically fits what you want your quote-unquote kingdom to be. You spend 10 minutes with one of those knights and tell them about your kingdom's possibilities and make a diplomacy or society check against a hard DC of your knight's level, which is probably going to be your level. Regardless of what the results are, this counts as refocusing for your knight, so if your knight was missing any focus points, they get that back, and depending on the result of your check, you will reduce their current doomed condition by 1 on a success or 2 on a critical success. Y'all, the doomed condition is really hard to remove, so having a built-in feature you can use once per day per night, with a K, is absolutely amazing. Sure, it's level 12, so it's not like it's early game doomed reduction, but you don't run into doomed very often early game anyway. This is just reliable doomed condition removal. Now, if you are playing with the Mythic system, this is even better because Mythic characters don't die from reaching dying 4, they instead gain the doomed condition. So if you are playing in Mythic gameplay, the doomed condition will be a lot more prevalent, but even in normal gameplay, things can inflict doomed, and this is a very reliable way to remove that condition in just 10 minutes. Fantastic. And then right at level 14, what I love about all of these archetypes, whether you're Mythic or not, you've got options. There are so many feats at levels 14, 16, 18, and 20 for these archetypes, and that's why they're all getting an individual video. You might notice the length of this video. We're just talking about the Monarch. These archetypes are massive, so let's keep it going. Bloom of Health is amazing in the thick of combat. For one action, you shout a rallying cry, and all of your knights that can hear you gain fast healing equal to your level for 1 full minute. Let me paint this picture for you. It's level 14, you get this feat. All of your allies get fast healing 7 for 10 rounds. Assuming you have, let's say, 3 allies, because you're a classic 4-person party, you're gonna gain, 7 hit points per level on all 3 allies for 10 rounds straight. That is 210 points of healing for 1 action. And this gets better and better the more knights you have, up to the maximum of 5. The only thing holding this ability back, and it's just for balance sake, is that it is once per day, which over 200 points of potential healing for a single action, I think once per day is totally valid. Even if your allies aren't currently in need of healing, if you're about to start what you know is going to be a very difficult fight, just popping this turn 1 so they have that regeneration for the rest of combat is crazy. And this is going to be good all the way to level 20. At level 20, 10 free healing for your entire party every single turn? Amazing. Alright, I'm going to try to explain this next feat with a straight face because it has already become one of my favorite feats in all of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Decree of Banishment, another once per day ability for 1 action. You pick any creature who can hear you within 60 feet. and issue a decree. That decree is, please get away from me and do not come back. The target must make a will save against your class DC or spell DC, whichever one is higher, and if they fail that saving throw, they must spend their entire next turn moving as far away from you as possible. Even better, if that creature has any way to expedite their retreat, magical or otherwise, they must use it. If you use this on a creature and they have plane shift, they mechanically must use plane shift to get away from you. That would already be incredible, but it does not end there. No, if they failed that saving throw, the effects last for 1 week. If at any time during this week they attempt to get within 60 feet of you, they must make a new will save, and if they fail, their entire current movement also fails. Now, the rest of the effect is a little bit vague. It does say anytime they try to move back within 60 feet of you, they must make that will save. So I think this is very much up to GM interpretation. Obviously, moving past that 60-foot barrier will require a will save. But what if they stop 30 feet away from you and try to move again? Does that count as moving back within 60 feet? I don't know if it does. I feel like it should because they're still trying to get closer to you, but with the exact wording, they're technically already within 60 feet, so I don't know if the effect lasts at all. Let me know in the comments which way you interpret that effect. But we're not done with this ability yet. First off, unfortunately, to burst some people's bubbles, this ability does have the incapacitation trait. So if you're level 14 and the BBEG is menacingly standing on top of a tower, if they're level 20, you can't just say, hey, go away, and then they fall off the tower. It'd be funny, but unless they crit succeed, it's not going to work. If you are currently playing with Mythic rules, you can also choose to spend a Mythic point when you activate this ability. Not only does this extend the duration from 1 week to 1 month, but the decree of banishment also causes everybody within a 10-mile radius to also reject this person, including the land beneath their feet. The target, as long as they are attempting anything within this 10-mile radius, takes a -4 penalty to diplomacy checks, to intimidation checks, and my favorite part, survival checks, just to subsist off the land. The berries growing on the bushes will wilt at their touch because the land has rejected them at your decree. Additionally, if this target stays within this area, then anytime you encounter a group of people of 10 or more, they will tell you the last time they saw this person. This is just the ultimate, I want this person to suffer in the least damaging, physically damaging. Imagine the mental damage, the emotional damage. You do this to a man and he goes home to his wife and she says, no, the monarch said get out. I'm taking the kid. Also, something I should have mentioned, this penalty is untyped. So it's going to stack with any status penalties, any circumstance penalties, hell, any item penalties. This is so petty. And that's what a good monarch should be. On the flip side, you can also take Decree of Prosperity, another one-action decree you can do once per day to assist your knights. For 1 full minute, anytime one of your knights fails a non-attack skill check, they succeed instead. As long as they are not making an attack roll or an athletics attack action, they will only fail something on a crit fail. I'm just trying to picture what this looks like in the campaign. We're talking to the mayor about wanting a bigger reward. The bard is about to roll diplomacy to get a bigger gold bonus for this quest. The monarch stacks up and goes, hold on, I believe this shall be a prosperous month. The bard then rolls diplomacy and rolls a failure. But because the monarch said it shall be prosperous, it succeeds anyway and the mayor doubles your reward gold. But also in combat, this is really useful. You use this before anybody uses their intimidation to demoralize, before they try to use feint, before they try to recall knowledge. Oh my god, recall knowledge can't fail. Unless you crit fail, they will always succeed. That's cracked. And once again, if you are playing with Mythic rules, this has an additional effect if you spend a Mythic point. For the next month, all individuals within a 10-mile radius gain a +2 bonus to their earn income activities. On top of that, nobody will ever fail to find work. There will be jobs for everybody, and everyone will be better at their jobs because of it. The 10-mile radius around you prospers, and they all know it was because of your decree. Because of this, you get to eat for free and stay for free anywhere within that radius for the entire month, and you just get 10 items of 3rd level or lower for half price. And y'all, this is once per day. Granted, it's a mythic point. It's a mythic point that at the end of the day is just gonna get you some cheap, low-level items. But you can just do this for 10-mile radius areas every day for a month. You can save a country with this. The final level 14 feat, Might of the Realm, is okay and is most beneficial when used in a large party of players or with some NPC companions also acting as your knights. For 2 actions, you make a strike against an enemy, and that strike deals bonus damage equal to twice the number of knights that you can see. So if you've got all 5 of your available knights within eyesight of you, your strike deals 10 bonus damage, and if it happens to be a critical hit, they are enfeebled until the start of your next turn. The only problem I have with this feat is that it does count as 2 strikes towards your multiple attack penalty. This is kind of a lame power attack at the end of the day. If it enfeebled on a normal hit, I think it would be pretty good, but as it stands, a level 14 feat for 2 actions that grants you probably on average 6 bonus damage isn't that exciting. If you have a big group, 10 bonus damage on a strike ain't bad. I think you can do better though. Though if you are a giant barbarian monarch, your flat damage is gonna go through the roof. And one thing you might be noticing already, which goes to show how well designed these archetypes are, they're useful for almost any kind of character. Oh, you are a martial fighter who wants to be a monarch? Might of the Realm. Oh, you are the bard who wants to use their diplomacy? Take the Decree of Prosperity or the Decree of Banishment. Oh, you are the cleric who wants to keep your allies alive? Take the Fast Healing feat. There are feats here for every kind of character, so no matter who wants to be the queen, they can. It's me, I want to be the queen. Put a crown on my head. Our first level 16 feat is pretty dang strong. Kneel before the rightful heir. For 2 actions, all enemies that can see and hear you within 40 feet must make a will save against your class DC or spell DC. Even if the creatures succeed, they take 3d6 persistent mental damage. On a failure, they take 6d6 persistent mental damage. And on a critical failure, they are clumsy 2 for as long as they are taking that persistent damage. Now, unfortunately, this persistent damage is pretty easy to get rid of. All they have to do is drop prone in a location that you, the monarch, can see, and then stay down until their next turn. And then the persistent damage goes away. But what if I told you that there's a universe where this becomes permanent, persistent damage? And all you have to do is put a blindfold on your monarch. As long as a creature is suffering from this persistent mental damage, it can be ended only by falling prone in a square the monarch can see. If you have a blindfold on, you can't see them. On top of this, if you have some kind of, say, teleportation magic, you can inflict the persistent mental damage and leave. If you can leave the scene before they can fall prone where you can see them, this is permanent. You're level 16. You have access to very high level mobility options. I believe you have teleport. I think this is a case of Paizo needing to not clarify all the different situations of this, But as it stands, you walk into combat and say, all y'all bitches, and disappear. Obviously, this is exploiting the rules, and as a GM, I would say if you, the Monarch, leave the encounter, they are no longer affected by it. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't really have a counter to you blinding yourself. You know, if you literally can't see them, that is just the rules of them not ever being able to get rid of the persistent damage. And I like that, because it sort of balances it, because you're blind. And before we have the fighter with blind fight, moving on. Next up, My Kingdom, My Blood is a very cool defensive option for the Monarch. For 3 actions, you stride up to your speed using any available option of movement, and plant either your weapon or your fist into the ground, creating a 60-foot aura from that location. If your ally ever takes damage while within that aura, you can spend your reaction to take half of it for them. If you do it in this way, you obviously can't mitigate that damage even if you have resistances, and your allies gain the ability to do that for you. If they take 50 damage, you can choose to take half and you both take 25. If you take 50 damage, they can choose to take half and you both take 25. You know what this is amazingly a combo with? Fast healing. Fast healing, that big AoE healing for all your allies. If they're mitigating by taking some of the damage for you, boom, they're healing a little bit every single turn. That's called synergy. That's what a good Monarch does. He gets someone to come up with synergy for him. Noble Sacrifice is a feat that is only usable if you are playing with Mythic, though I think you could really use it without the cost. Allow me to explain. As a reaction, if one of your designated knights is within 15 feet of you and is about to be hit by a strike, they can step as a free action, and you stride into their square as your reaction. Additionally, if you have shield block, then you can use shield block as a part of this reaction as you intercede where your knight was and take the hit for them. On top of taking the damage for your ally, the creature who triggered this ability is off guard until the end of your next turn. As I said, this costing a Mythic point honestly doesn't even feel that necessary. If you really want to balance it for non-Mythic play, maybe make it once per minute or remove the off guard. Otherwise, being able to intercede and take an attack for your ally is just super thematic, and I love the idea of a Monarch that would die before letting their soldiers go down. And the final level 16 feat is Protect the Royal Line, and honestly, a little disappointing. For one action, if you are flanked by 2 enemies, you can attempt an athletics check to shove or reposition one of them. If you can see one of your designated knights, you get a +2 to this check. If you are adjacent to one of your designated knights, you get a +4 to this check, and if you would normal succeed this check, you crit succeed instead, and if you would crit succeed this check, you increase the shove or reposition distance by 5 feet. That's it. It's a really fancy way of saying +4 to shove, and I just don't think +4 to shove is that exciting at level 16, especially with how perfectly set up this feat needs to be. Now, we're at level 18, which is where feats get kinda silly. Sometimes, as the Monarch, somebody has just annoyed you so much that you decide to make a very special decree. A decree of execution saying, hey, make a will save or die, bitch. One creature within 60 feet of you makes a will save against your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher, and unfortunately this saving throw does have the incapacitation trait. On a critical success, nothing happens. But even on a normal success, the creature just takes 50 flat spirit damage. Not terrible. Alternatively, if the creature is only level 14 or lower on a successful save, it immediately drops to 1 hit point. If they fail their saving throw, that 14th level or lower creature dies immediately. Otherwise, the creature takes 50 spirit damage and gains weakness 20 to all damage types for 1 minute. And that's absolutely insane. If you can hit the creature on average 3 times per round for 1 minute, that's just 60 bonus damage every single round. And a critical failure has all those same failure effects, except they're also stunned 1 for 1 minute, meaning if you hit them with this, they're only getting 2 actions per turn for basically the entire encounter, plus taking 20 extra damage from all hits. The problem here comes with that incapacitation trait. On average, you're going to want to use this on a boss, but the boss is going to have a really good saving throw because they're higher level than you, meaning at worst, they're going to roll a failed saving throw, which means they get a success instead, and this becomes 3 actions, deal 50 damage. Where this is kind of cracked is in Mythic play, because if you spend a Mythic point, you remove the incapacitation trait, meaning even if that boss, that BBEG, just normal fails, that is 20 extra damage from every source of damage for 1 full minute. Very nice. Now, Decree of War is just saying, hey, knights, please kill that man. Instead of killing them with your voice with Decree of Execution, you kill them with your friends and their many weapons. For 3 actions, you allow all of your allied knights who can currently hear and see you to spend their reactions to stride twice and strike the designated target. This is 3 actions, and if you have 5 knights, you're spending 5 reactions, but you're granting 15 bonus actions of 2 strides each and a strike each. And remember, if you're striking and it's not your turn, you are attacking at full bonus, no multiple attack penalty. Also keep in mind, this does not say melee attack. Monarch with a firing squad, go. Additionally, if you are playing with Mythic rules, then you can spend a Mythic point to make everyone within a 10-mile radius love and respect your knights. Your knights get to eat and sleep free anywhere they want within this 10-mile radius. Additionally, you will always get at least a 10-minute warning from someone if an enemy group of 10 or more creatures is headed towards you. Just a free 10-mile wide alarm of, hey, excuse me, there's like 50 hobgoblins coming towards you? Just thought you should know. Okay, bye, your majesty. And the last little bonus is that your knights can have all of their common items repaired for free, though you're level 18. I cannot think of any common items you would deign to dirty your fingertips with, my liege. Fated Duel, another feat that requires use of the Mythic point system, and one that I have some very heavy gripes with. But let's talk about it at first, because it's flavorful as hell. Once per week, for 1 action, you can choose an opponent you can see and declare a fated duel between the 2 of you. From now on, neither of you can move more than 30 feet away from each other, and you must keep fighting. Neither of you can be harmed by any source of damage other than each other. And if neither of you dies within 1 minute, you both become doomed 1, and every minute that passes afterwards increases both of your doomed conditions by 1 until one of you is dead or you both die. This is super cool, super thematic, and super flavorful until you realize your opponent can just say, no thank you, I would rather not. For this level 18 feat, any opponent can just say, no thanks, I'm good. You get your Mythic point back, and you get to demoralize them at Mythic proficiency. That's it. It's a 1-action, potentially free Mythic demoralize, I guess. Maybe you'll get them frightened too. I don't know who was thinking that a level 18 feat should give the opponent the opportunity to say no without a saving throw, but there you go. Now, the ability to decline aside, this feat is hilariously easy to break. First off, it just says that nobody else can harm you, which means your allies can heal you and buff you while you're fighting this sacred, fated duel. It also says nothing about being a tanky little turtle coward and casting Sanctuary on yourself and protecting yourself as time goes on. Because what if you happen to have the Die Hard feat, meaning you don't die until Doomed 5, and enemies and monsters don't get feats in Pathfinder 2e, so unless you're fighting another creature or character who has been granted the Die Hard feat by the GM, you can sit there and turtle and Sanctuary and shield block, and your allies can spam heals on you. And if you reach Doomed 4, they do too, and you're still alive and the duel is over. At the end, you win. Have a nice day. Sovereign's Blade is another ability that technically requires a Mythic point but is easily balanced to be usable without the Mythic point. But by default, for 2 actions, you spend a Mythic point and raise your weapon up, immediately counteracting any darkness effects of 7th rank or lower around you. Additionally, any of your allied knights who can see you can immediately spend their reaction to stride twice, and if they end their stride adjacent to you, gain +2 status bonus to all of their attack rolls until the start of your next turn. Phenomenal buff. Now, how would you use it if you aren't playing Mythic? Simple. remove one of the strides and make the bonus a +1 instead of a +2. 2 actions to counteract darkness and allow your knights to move once and gain a +1 to attack rolls. It is fancy righteous anthem at that point, which is totally fair for a level 18 feat to be usable every single turn. I think that's great. It's a really unique way to grant your allies +1, grant them some mobility, and counteract some darkness, you know? So if you're using Mythic points, sure, +2 and 2 strides. If you're not playing Mythic, remove the Mythic point requirement, remove one of those strides, and make it a +1 instead of +2. Boom, that's a decent feat. And finally, at level 20, we have 2 pretty insane feats, starting with Legacy of the Monarchs. Should you, the Monarch, ever die, one of your designated allied knights can take up your mantle and become the monarch in your place. Not only does this grant them all of the feats and abilities from your monarch archetype, but it also replaces their ability scores with yours, all of their skill proficiencies with yours, all of their feats with yours. Aside from changing their ancestry, they become you. Your character sheet is effectively copy-pasted onto theirs. Additionally, should you, the monarch, ever be revived and brought back to life, there are 2 different outcomes. The first is that they can grant you your mantle back, they will revert to their original self, and you will obviously have all of your skills, abilities, feats, and whatnots, and everything returns to the status quo. Alternatively, you can choose to allow your previous knight to maintain the mantle of monarch and move on and retrain all of your skills and feats into a totally new character, changing their name and identity, leaving the monarch behind you and moving on to live a totally new level 20 life. And finally, if you don't like the idea of passing off your mantle, why lose it in the first place? Once and future, as long as one of your allied knights is within 30 feet of you, you can only die of old age. If your dying or doomed condition would increase to a level that would kill you, you just stay at 0 hit points and you do not die. Additionally, let's say your knights aren't around for some reason and you would die. Well, that can happen once per year, and you return to life with double your level and hit points and gain a mythic point back to boot. And even if your knights aren't around and you have died either for your second time that year or naturally of old age, you do not cross the River of Souls. You are instead reborn as a child, and tales of your time as the monarch are told throughout the land that you will get to hear as you grow up. This is so awesome. As long as your knights are nearby, you're immortal. Even if you do die once, you return to life. What a freaking awesome level 20 feat. What a cool archetype as a whole. All about fighting with your knights, amazingly not using your knights to fight for you. That's what I love what Paizo's done with this archetype, is that you might think, oh, the monarch uses their soldiers. No. In this case, the monarch fights with their soldiers, makes their soldiers stronger, protects their soldiers, and in turn can call those soldiers to protect them, living a potentially immortal life as a monarch, at least until old age claims them. This is so freaking cool, and I want to hear what you think in the comments below. Do you love the Monarch? What do you think of some of the minor balance changes and how usable this is as a non-mythic archetype? Because I think this is more than applicable in a non-mythic game. But I want to hear from y'all, of course. Thank you all so very much for watching. Once more, if you're watching this the day it came out, or even a day or two after, I'm still live over on Twitch for the Nonat November Subathon. It's still going. Twitch chat, say hi. They can't read what you're saying, but you can say hi. I'm going to zoom in on that, and it's just going to be complete blurs, but you'll know who you are. You'll know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.